Welcome to the Human Frequency. We just got back from San Diego and we wanted to give a little update on our latest gifting trip.
Yeah, it was an interesting trip, and, frankly, I expected San Diego to be like a really big Laguna Beach.
I thought it'd be really, really nice like Orange County. Well, okay, Orange County is nice and not nice, but you know what I mean. I thought it'd be like a beachy kind of laid-back town.
Yeah, and I guess that I'm kind of using a lot of SoCal lingo in my words, so someone in Europe is not necessarily going to know what Laguna Beach is, or even San Diego for that matter. But you get the idea. It's a coastal community, and it's very heavily DORized, and it kind of caught me by surprise.
Me too, because the whole coastline of Orange County, I have this perception of it as being a really nice, comfortable place to hang out, and actually, I was surprised by that as well, of the heavy DOR, because I've enjoyed Orange County beaches, and I've actually enjoyed San Diego beaches as well. Back when I was younger, we went and visited there, and I was pretty taken aback by the amount of DOR in the area. However, it is a beautiful area in itself. So, of course, going in there and cleaning it up made a big difference.
Yeah, the best giftings are when you go into those really heavily DORized regions, and if you're doing a gifting and it's very high OR, you're really not making maximum use of your time. So it was good that we went down there. We'd never gone down there before, and we're not sure if anyone's really doing any work down there. So
it looked like they weren't. It was pretty heavy DOR. The sky was gray and flat when we arrived, and we did see a total turnaround in the 3 days we were there.
But the thing is, there is a backstory here, because we felt this particular gifting was important for some time now, because the weather patterns in California in the winter are completely different from how they are at any other time of year, especially the summer. You're getting a lot more moisture coming in from the south and the southwest. And as a result, San Diego being that far south, if there are a lot of towers, which there were, it's going to impact how those weather systems come through the rest of the state.
That's true. And back in 2015, I was noticing this, and so we went down to El Centro, which is east of San Diego, out in the desert. And Wilhelm Reich had been there doing research and back in the 50s, and he said that El Centro, California was the Sahara of North America. So, of course, I felt compelled to go and help. And when we went down there, it was actually a very nice day, pretty high OR considering, and that's because we had been doing so much gifting in the LA region, and it affected those regions as well. But at the same time, as we traveled eastward, we did see, even with the light DOR there was, we saw it transmuting. So we knew our work was working. So we worked on El Centro back in 2015, and we came back through a little piece of San Diego, just a little bit, tossing tower busters just along the freeway.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew it hadn't been done, but I felt compelled to start with El Centro because it's so desertified. Little did I know San Diego was such a strategic point in gifting.
Yeah, and it's a strategic point in other ways, because when you see a lot of towers, that really makes you think, there must be something to it, because it's not just about mind controlling the populace, it's about weather manipulation.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the presence of towers, but it was also the heavy military presence there. And I've known about that for some time too. And the main one is Camp Pendleton, and we passed by there on the 5, which is the main route into San Diego, and you could feel it. You could feel it in the air.
It's really heavy, that military presence, the vibe of it. It just feels heavy and oppressive. And just to go back to the weather situation there, I had noticed for the last few years that even when we were getting lots of rain throughout Southern California, somehow these storms were skipping San Diego. I saw it over and over again, so I knew there's something going on down there to DORize it, and it needs to be dealt with. Of course, we can only handle these places one at a time, and it takes a long time. We did a bunch in Orange County. We finally said, let's devote a couple of days. We actually spent about 3 days, because part of it was driving down and gifting on the way, and then 2 days we're in San Diego. We spent a good amount of time gridding that area. But yes, the military presence creates an oppressive atmosphere. The police presence, there were people getting pulled over left and right. And what's funny is we can't get pulled over because of our private property plates, but I still get a sinking feeling in my chest when I see it happening to someone else, because I know what they're going through. There's also the San Onofre nuclear power plant, which has been decommissioned for a few years. It's still very unnerving to drive by a nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
You think about this thing. It's so close to San Diego, all of Orange County, LA. I mean, what happens if this thing were to blow?
Yeah,
So
it's not a comforting thought.
No.
And it's not this far cry from its cameo scene in The Naked Gun, where Leslie Nielsen is saying, everywhere I look, something reminds me of her. And they're the two domes.
Yeah, it's not one of those stack ones. It's got two little domes with little nipples on top.
I think that's a scientific term too. They're called nipples.
Yeah. So I was kind of surprised by San Diego in general. So we traveled down south. We went on the coastal route, and we have done a lot of gifting in Long Beach area and all these surrounding places in LA County. We did go through a piece of Long Beach. We went, of course, through the South Bay, the coastal route, Pacific Coast Highway. It does cut inland. We went through Long Beach and through Orange County, and the Wilmington area, of course, has a lot of really ugly industry, oil refineries, Harbor City, Lomita, those places, very heavy DORized regions from all that pollution and just the whole energy of these kind of refineries and industry. And can you imagine people are living near that? So we did a lot of tossing there and targeted the cell towers and went down through Orange County. And I remember Huntington Beach in the past being kind of overcast, and it certainly was this time. And so was Laguna Beach, all those areas. But it wasn't the healthy marine layer. It was a DOR layer. And as we went, we did see it lighten up. And my hope is by doing the coastal route and completing that line now from Cannon Beach, Oregon, all the way down to San Diego, my hope is that we will see a lot less DOR on the coast and a lot more healthy marine layer, which burns off pretty early in the day, revealing blue skies.
Yeah, that would be nice. And we saw evidence that was happening as we were going down, but very thick to start with. So we knew going down that we had a lot of work to do. And then we ended up in San Diego, and that town is a little different than what I expected.
I know.
And certainly I'm not going to speak for you too, but
no,
I think you felt the same way.
Yeah, I kind of expected it to be nicer than LA, and it certainly wasn't. No offense to San Diego, but this town needs work energetically. I would say we did a pretty good job gridding it very thoroughly. We were methodical. And yeah, it was pretty heavy gray flat skies. And it felt like, to my surprise, a gigantic Long Beach. I felt like I was in Carson a lot of the time, or any of those areas down south in LA County. So it did kind of have a little bit of a rough feeling that I didn't expect, and kind of a sort of a malaise to it. Again,
we've seen this before.
I didn't expect that either. I thought, oh, San Diego. Wilhelm Reich liked it there. I remember in reading his account of going to El Centro, how when they were done with their work in the desert, they went and took a load off in San Diego and relaxed there. And he said what a lovely town it was.
Well, things have changed in 65 years.
I suppose so. So yeah, I kind of felt like I was staying over in Carson. And yeah, it was a little bit of a poverty vibe there. There were some nice areas, but mostly pretty bad areas or rough feeling areas. And you could feel that in the air.
Certainly.
And you could tell by the businesses that are around and what the streets look like. It looked a little like South LA, which is very rough. So yeah, that's how I felt about it. And I expected it to be a lot more upscale than it was.
Oh, we went down pretty close to the Mexican border. I mean, the 5 goes literally right there, and then you cross the border and you're in Mexico. And we got pretty close there, and it was actually kind of weird because you could see Tijuana in the distance, and it's kind of up on a little bit of a hill, so it rises above everything, and it's like, oh my God, that's Mexico.
Well, I've been there. You haven't been to Tijuana?
No, that doesn't really appeal to me.
Well, it's not for the appeal, it's for the drugs. You can get any prescription there without a prescription.
I'm aware of the tendency to obtain certain things from Tijuana.
Yeah, but sometimes just the most basic things, like literally like Retin-A for your zits. You know, like just stuff that here in the U.S. is a pain to get. So people go there for that reason. They go there to be tourists. But yeah, Tijuana, very rough area. The times I spent there, I just went as a tourist. And yeah, I mean, I went to pick up prescriptions. Who hasn't, right?
I haven't.
Well, okay. But
now, I did see the DOR transmuting above Tijuana in the distance. So I know that whether there's Orgonite gifting going on there or not, we know that this is a very far-reaching event that's taking place.
It is far-reaching, and I know that some of our Orgonite is in Mexico because we've shipped some there, and we've also sold a beautiful pyramid to somebody who lived in Mexico when we were at Contact in the Desert. So I know our Orgonite is there, and I know we need to gift there too, but we weren't prepared to go through the border crossing with private property plates just yet. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. San Diego has been thoroughly inundated with Orgonite, and during our time there, we saw a significant change in the atmosphere. On the last day, the morning marine layer was healthy. It wasn't a flat DOR. It was defined. It's important that we understand what marine layer is. Marine layer is nothing bad. People don't like June gloom in Southern California. It's part of the weather cycle here. I do believe it's connected with the weather warfare, and I'm still researching why we have June gloom every year, starting in late May. But what I do know is this. It is an energetic transmutation. So when you have a flat, depressing June gloom, no definition to the clouds, just flat gray, that is a sign of DOR. However, when it starts to gain definition and you see that the clouds have shapes and you could see that they're thinning out in little bits of blue between them, that is a healthy marine layer, and that's the energetic transmutation. But generally, fog and marine layer are the result of OR cleaning up DOR, and we are starting to learn this because we've seen marine layer type clouds in places very far from the ocean. So now we're learning what that is. So marine layer is a part of life in Southern California. The important thing is that it's healthy and that it burns off normally.
Now, if you've seen the photo gallery on our website, which is right on the front there, you'll see that there are different stages of transmutation, as you said. But when it's early stages like that, you will notice that those shapes you were talking about, the definition is very subtle at first.
Yep.
Because it's very early in that stage. But as time goes on, the OR inevitably triumphs over the DOR in any given area, much more so after the towers there have been gifted. Mm-hmm. And you'll start to see more defined shapes. You'll start to, it comes to life. The sky comes to life.
The earth naturally cleans up pollution, and the earth will repel those toxins. We just need to help, because of all the DOR sources, cell towers, that are negating the Earth's natural process. So when you gift a tower, you neutralize it, and then the Earth can do what she does. And we need to stop being scared of everything up there.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
What I've learned in these years of research is that every single sky, no matter how bad it looks to you, is in the process of cleanup, because it's perpetual. They will perpetually pollute it, and we will continue to clean it, so it's always in process. So definitely familiarize yourself with the photo gallery on thekembo.com, because it may put your mind at ease. You may now look up there and say, oh, it's a little cloudy, and I see some chemtrails, but I could see that chemtrails breaking. I could see that corkscrew shape. There's all these different shapes that happen, and you can learn all about them at the website.
Yeah, it's good to familiarize yourself with these things, because believe me, the parasitic entities that are doing this in the first place, if you're not blissfully unaware of it, it's really not. It's just as good for them if you're completely scared to death of them.
I know they don't mind if you're scared. That's why there's organizations like geoengineeringwatch.org, because they exist for those who have noticed the chemtrails, and their whole purpose is to keep you scared of it. And in fact, I think the parasites get a ton of food out of that. So if you're looking at any of these shill websites, which is every single anti-geoengineering website on the internet that doesn't discuss Orgonite, they are all controlled opposition, and they will all steer you towards fear. And I don't know what their motive is, because I'm not going to speculate, but I have my ideas, and I do believe that they are part of the problem. And I do believe it's purposeful. I don't think that they're just unaware, because I've contacted plenty of them to let them know about it, and I get censored even just putting a comment on geoengineeringwatch.org. So let's just get real about these so-called activism sites, because activism means going out there and cleaning up your environment. Activism doesn't mean sitting and watching YouTube videos and getting more and more scared because some shill out there is telling you everything up there is them doing it to us. There's no solution. You're getting filled with heavy metals. Oh, and by the way, there's a new set of shills out there that says that Orgonite can go bad and will need to get thrown away. And it's very important that we dispose of it. Excuse me, but anybody who's telling you to dispose of Orgonite obviously doesn't want it out there, right? Mm-hmm. Orgonite never goes bad. I've got an Orgonite Myths Debunked article you can check out. Just go to the news section of thekembo.com, and it's the top article right now. And if by the time you listen to this, it's not the top article, it's in there, so check it out.
Just dig a little bit. And also, activism does not mean to wave a sign around and go gallivanting around in front of a building and appeal to some officer of a corrupt business entity. That doesn't work.
It doesn't work. So anyway, back to San Diego. This city was very interesting to me. I did have a good time there. The trip down was kind of difficult. It's very hard to get to San Diego from LA on surface streets. That is not an easy trip. But
No,
we had the intention of catching any towers we missed along the coast, because it's of the utmost importance that we have a wall of protection from anything coming in from the ocean, because we actually don't know what they're doing out there, because we can't get out there. Then there may be stuff under the ocean, and they're doing stuff way far away from us. So anything coming in, we want to stop it. So that's been done. Now, San Diego, it's got its problems, and I do want to bring up the property market problem that's going on right now, which we noticed was just as bad there as it is in LA. And I think this is pretty much a worldwide issue, because after we put out our video about the Craigslist fake ad scam, which is driving up rents and therefore driving up the housing market in general, because what happens is if you see that it's going to cost $2,500 to rent a 2-bedroom house in an outskirt of LA, not even in the city, you're going to start thinking, hey, it's going to be cheaper to get a mortgage. So we're just fueling the housing market with these fake rental ads, all of which are fake, by the way, because I email them or phone them and they don't get back. And it happens so many times that you start to see a pattern. Plus, you'll see one up there for months. I saw another one, by the way, where there was a house for sale in our community, and it sold because I was watching the real estate market. And now there's a fake ad on Craigslist that's been there since before it sold and continues after. And it's just based on the pictures they pulled off of Realtor.com. And it's not for rent. Okay, this house sold, and nobody's renting it out for $1,100 after it's sold, because you're not going to profit that way. Anyway, that's a low rent, but that's really too high for where we live. So anyway, everywhere the rents are inflated on these fake ads. And what I found in San Diego was that it's the same situation. The Airbnb we stayed at was a tiny 2-bedroom house, and the lady who was hosting us was young, a little younger than Gabriel, and she was in over her head.
I'm 33, by the way, in case anyone's wondering.
She was a couple years younger, and she was in over her head because this house is tiny, and she can't afford it, and she's working full-time, and she had to Airbnb a bedroom in it. But I think people are buying houses now that are overpriced with the intention of Airbnb-ing a room. I think that there are many, many companies involved in this housing scam. And let me tell you, houses are a scam. This house was not even on a full lot. There was an apartment building on the same lot behind the house. The house had been fenced off. There was an easement on her driveway for people to walk to the apartments. And she paid, I kid you not, I couldn't find out the exact cost of hers, but all the comps in her neighborhood were in the 400s. And we're talking about, what, a 700 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath house?
No more than 7.
The comps were between usually the mid 400s to 500. So what kind of payment is she paying? My guess is about $3,000 a month. And even Airbnb-ing it every night, she's got no privacy, and she's still out probably $1,500 a month on her own. Mm-hmm. You see what a scam this is? And I'm telling you, Airbnb is in on the scam.
They certainly are.
And when we were staying in this house, I noticed, she doesn't have any money, obviously, because everything was the cheapest stuff from IKEA. And I literally felt like I was sleeping in the IKEA showroom. In particular, the IKEA showroom in Carson, because San Diego felt so much like Carson to me. But it was really like kind of a little sad to think about how overworked young people are that fall victim to the housing scam. Houses are a scam. What gives value to a structure made of wood, plaster, pipes, wires, and insulation? The structure itself, what is that worth? $20,000? Think about the materials for a small house like that. What makes it worth in the mid 400s? In San Diego, no less. It's not even LA. So I believe that there are many companies that are benefiting from this scam. Of course, the banks. So if you're taking like a basic structure that's a home, everyone needs one, right?
Yeah.
So no one can afford one because the prices are too high, so they get a loan. The banks create currency with that loan. And that devalues the currency. And this is creating a very, very precarious situation, because once people stop being able to buy these houses and get these ridiculously high loans, everything is going to fall apart. And guess what's going to happen? When someone who bought a house for $450,000 that they can't afford and they're paying $3,000 a month, when that house is worth $200,000 again, well, I mean, I'm maybe exaggerating.
250, let's say, 275,
which
whatever.
Is what it's actually worth. Well, even that's not what it's worth. But let's get real. Let's say it drops in value. They can't move because they can't sell it, because they will owe the bank that difference. And that's all currency the bank created by making an entry in a computer. It doesn't even exist, but if they can't pay it back, they're screwed. I know what's going to happen. All of a sudden, there will be houses for rent again, because right now, there are no single-family homes for rent.
No, just apartments. There are no houses.
Because everybody is buying them. They are all being scammed. Don't fall victim to this scam.
Again, hello, people, this only happened 10, 12 years ago.
I think that the banks are the biggest company benefiting from this. I know that realtors are, and I know real estate websites like Realtor.com and Zillow are, but guess who else is benefiting? Airbnb. Think about it. People buy houses they can't afford. They're forced to Airbnb a room. Young people everywhere are doing this now. Think about how much Airbnb is raking in on this scam. And guess what? Sprouts is in on it too.
No way.
When you see a Sprouts market, all of a sudden you think, oh, this neighborhood's okay. I mean, if you're driving around and you see a Food for Less, you're probably not going to think it's such a good area. But as soon as you see that Sprouts, you're like, oh, it's fine. There's a Sprouts.
I can get papaya that's ripe. You get the Trader Joe's papayas. They're all green and hard. They
Trader
take
Joe's
2
is
years
in on
to
it
ripen.
too. Whole Foods is in on it too. Amazon is in on it too because they own Whole Foods. And they're also shipping stuff to all these houses.
And doing a very poor job of it too, I might add.
Yeah. And when people need to renovate these homes and whatnot. So there's so many companies benefiting off of this gigantic scam. Keep renting, guys. Don't buy a house. It's the stupidest thing you'll do. If you want to invest, if you happen to have any extra money, buy silver. It's $20 an ounce at any given time, give or take. And if we have a little extra to spend, when we have something extra to put away, that's what we do. We don't think about buying a house. We did when we changed our minds, because it's the stupidest thing you can do. You can ruin your life doing it.
Don't be a sucker. Don't do it. It's happened before. It's the same 10-year cycle. It's happening again.
Yeah, but it's taking a little longer this time. And I think it is fueled a lot by these companies that weren't around 10 years ago, like Airbnb. I think that because people know that if they buy an overpriced house, they can just rent out one of the rooms by the night for way too much money, then they can pay the payment. But they didn't think long term. They didn't think, what happens when I want to move and this place goes down in value? So that's just another thing I saw in San Diego that is the same as in LA, just as bad. So I think it is a nationwide problem. And from what I'm hearing from people emailing, it is a worldwide problem. And I did learn that the third alternative to buying and renting, and interestingly enough, I learned this from a very nice colon hydrotherapist who's helped me out with colon hydrotherapy, which I love and endorse. I've done an episode about that on the Activation Hour in the past, which you could check out on Vimeo. But anyway, she told me the third option. Absolutely brilliant. She bought an RV and she parks it at an RV park. She has a lifetime membership which she paid $4,000 for, and now she could park it at any of their parks for 3 weeks straight, then move it to another one for a week.
Anywhere.
And she never has to pay any fees. She gets free water and electric. So there's your third option. Or you could just Airbnb it.
And contribute to the problem.
But you're better off being the one renting the Airbnb than the one who bought the house for too much money.
That's right. And another thing is, if this episode has like 100 or 200 views in 3 months, that will just prove that we're absolutely right about this. So
yeah, I know, like the one where we revealed the Craigslist scam.
Keep an eye on that so-called view counter.
Craigslist is in on it too, of course. And interesting times in San Diego. We saw all kinds of people there. It does seem to be a little oppressed. I hope a little less oppressed now. I'm sure that military presence, police presence doesn't help. But one thing we saw that was astounding was a mind-controlled baby. I have never seen a tiny little child, this was a toddler, under such heavy mind control. So I know this place needs help. This baby was DOR addicted. She was, what do you think, maybe 3 years old at most? Maybe 2.5, 3?
I'm very bad at guessing ages.
Baby ages. She was tiny. She was walking around with her mom's cell phone against her ear, playing total MK Ultra music.
On speakerphone
in a Thai restaurant where we were eating lunch.
And very close quarters, not like a place that has a lot of room. It was very small.
And she was dancing like a little floozy. I mean, this is a toddler dancing like a slut and listening to the phone, MK Ultra beats against her ear, and trying to get people's attention. This girl is destined to be a stripper in Vegas by the time she's 18. It's really sad. And mom wasn't doing anything about it. And mom could see that some people didn't like it. Most people were not even opposed to it. People thought it was funny and cute, which is also really sad. But mom knew that it was inappropriate, but she couldn't do anything. She tried taking away the phone, and the kid started screaming her head off.
Try being the operative word, because this kid had a death grip on this phone. Mm-hmm. Would not give it up.
And she screamed when mom took it away. So she'd give it back, and the kid would go back to dancing to this music like a little floozy, trying to get attention from the people at the tables.
And not staying in one place either. There was a line forming. It's a small place, as I mentioned. There's outdoor seating and indoor seating. She'd be in and, doing her dance in there.
And then she'd go dance for the outside people.
Yeah, and then go outside and dance a little bit for them, and then come back in and start, dancing around for the people inside again.
Well, this illustrates the problem of handing your kid a cell phone as an entertainment device, because of course you've got the energy problem. It destroys young minds as they develop to have that EMF. Especially she puts it up to her head. It's really bad for a young child like that. But there's more to it. If the kid is unsupervised, YouTube is full of trash and filth and aimed towards children. There are creepy videos out there aimed towards children, and the kids click on them and no one's watching. These videos promote mind control, pedophilia, abuse, and they're all done in a children's style. I read about this on Vigilant Citizen. Now,
for what it's worth.
I used to say this is one of my favorite websites, but I don't say that anymore because Vigilant Citizen doesn't recognize that all these celebrities are clones and transgenders and stuff like that. I think they're part of the problem too. But they do point out a lot of the problems of MK Ultra and mind control. But we have to be aware of how this affects the children, because if you're giving them the phone, which I doubt any of our listeners are doing, but people do it, they could click on stuff and it's marketed towards children, like the videos on the sidebar. They'll market them towards children, but there's a lot of stuff in there that's really, really wrong for kids to be seeing.
Mm-hmm. And it only takes 2 or 3 different clicks to be in a really, really sick world.
And DOR addiction is a serious problem for adults and children alike. So you want to not start them off that way, because people get addicted to deadly energy. And then when you introduce Orgonite, this is when people start to freak out. Some people freak out with the Orgonite. It's rare, but it's happened. We've had people return it. They buy it from us and return it because they said they couldn't handle the energy. And what I know is this. all life benefits from Orgonite, because most people say how much they love the energy. Plants grow better, animals are calmer. But the people who don't like it, it's because they are DOR addicted and they're not used to the positive energy, and because they very likely have entity attachments, and the entities themselves don't like it. So if you have a parasite like in your intestine, you're going to crave foods it wants. And if you have an entity attached to your lower chakras, you're going to crave the energy it wants.
Exactly.
And this girl was like a feeding ground for entities. And besides that, they want to DORize people in general because it creates an overall pervading atmosphere of suffering that they love to eat.
Mm-hmm. And it was sad because we were the only two people out of, no more than 10 or 15 sitting in this restaurant or on the outside patio. It was just very sad to be the only ones seeing what was really going on underneath the facade.
Right. A lot of people thought it was cute, I think. Here's an interesting thing that happened, and this was a valuable experience for me because although it was annoying, I learned so much by watching this Illuminati baby dancing around. There was a couple sitting at a table that I observed before this baby started dancing. And I looked at them, and if you've watched the film They Live, you know that those guys, those bad guys, the artificial intelligence, they take human form and they walk around amongst us. But no one can tell in the movie unless they put on the glasses and can see. There's these glasses so you can see who's human and who isn't.
Plot spoilers, sorry.
That's comes on early on in the movie. I think that's pretty basic. But
I know.
Anyway.
And it's in the theatrical release poster, so I take it back.
In the real world, though, we don't have the glasses. But I know they walk amongst us. I know that the government actors are them. And it stands to reason that since They Live as a documentary and everything in it was true, it stands to reason they're just amongst us in the work world and everywhere. This couple, they just look like normal, generic people. Nothing interesting about them, just regular people. Not bad looking, not good looking, just people. Eating and talking. I had a vibe about them, and I looked at them and I thought, I think there's something different about them. I think they might be them. And this is what's so weird is like, I think I can see now. Because when that baby started dancing, nobody was necessarily interacting with the baby in the restaurant part itself where we were. There was other people there, but they weren't interacting. These people smiled. The girl smiled at the baby, said how cute it was to the mom. And I said, all right, there's my answer. I can see. I could see them. I could see who they were. And then I got my proof. So now I know I can see.
Mm-hmm. And you saw it before the whole interaction even took place.
Yep. So that was pretty much our last day in San Diego. That's right before we drove home.
Finishing off on a good note, as you can see.
I have to say that the whole experience was very wonderful. Because even things like that you can look at as negative, you can also look at them as positive and learn. I learned very important things from it. And when we were gridding the city, it was very easy to do. I was surprised. Gridding can be very difficult sometimes. San Diego was laid out in a way that was not difficult to handle via freeway and major streets. And I noticed that the cell towers were actually dispersed more widely, not so many clustered close together there. So there's a reason for that. And I think there's so much DOR coming off the military bases, they probably don't need to cluster the towers as close together. Just a theory. But anyway, San Diego is thoroughly gridded. National City, Chula Vista, La Mesa, we got you.
And not a lot of sound walls on the freeways either, which was good for me tossing, because sound walls are pretty much the enemy when you're trying to chuck Orgonite into bushes, and there are no bushes.
Yep, and I was the one that was jumping out of the car in the urban areas and tossing in the bushes, and I'm an expert navigator with a map. And if you want to be an Orgonite gifter, I highly recommend you read a map and dump that GPS. Our last episode talked all about that. You don't want those surveillance devices with you when you gift. So become an expert map reader. You'll find it's easy to do, and it's actually fun. And you can mark everywhere you've been on that map, keep it with you. They can't see it because it's paper, it's not in your computer. So anyway, I had a great time in San Diego. I enjoyed neutralizing the frequency fence there. And when we left, the marine layer was healthy and burnt off early in the day to a blue sky. I've got to say, all in a good 3 days' work. So I hope everybody in San Diego is enjoying beautiful blue skies. And I hope all of you out there are enjoying the same.
Even the Illuminati baby.
Even the Illuminati baby. I actually hope she doesn't become a stripper in Vegas by the time she's 18. But, I think some people are a little too far gone, unfortunately. But let's just focus on flipping the inversion and trying to help those we can. And even the ones that seem too far gone, if you neutralize the towers, you'll see people start to come around. This is growing. This information is spreading. People are becoming more and more receptive to Orgone energy every day. So keep it up, and thanks so much for all the support. We will be back again with another update soon. You can check out our work at thekembo.com and learn to make your own Orgonite and learn all about gifting. All the videos are here on our YouTube channel and on the Vimeo, which you can get to through the website. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time.